Congratulations to Nick Sirianni for earning an extension after winning the Super Bowl that I believe is well-deserved, even though he is a little bitch. And also shout out to Fred Warner for getting himself an extension as well. You definitely deserve it as the best middle linebacker in the game. 3 years, $63 million to the 4-time Pro Bowl middle linebacker. Browns did indeed sign Shedeur Sanders to his rookie deal. Sirianni is on a multi-year deal now with the Eagles. That's all I got for NFL news right now. Let's get to the video. Welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. I'm the Grizz, and guys, for this season, this is the last entry, and it is the Mid-America Conference, also known as the MAC. Ever since Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame, MAC's really just been kind of irrelevant. They've been really doing cannibalism, if you know what I mean. But we are going to talk about how every single MAC team has done this season, and I hope you guys are ready for this. Also, don't forget to make sure you check the link in the description with the entire playlist in there so that you have every single episode so you can catch up on everything, and you'll also have it for future episodes. Also, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos because it also helps a lot. Without further delay, let's get to some MAC season reviews. MAC 2024, what an interesting year. We're going to be talking about every single one of the 12 teams. You obviously see the categories: teams that are elite, teams that are above average, teams that are decent, teams that are disappointing, and teams that were ass. Sound good? Great. Let's start it off with the Akron Zips. So just people want to tell me to put them in ass tier. They literally played 3 Power 5 opponents. It's now Power 4, I know. In the first 4 games of the season, they weren't really ass at all. Really just disappointing. Oh yeah, and another thing. So I heard that their academic progress rate fell too low. So they're ineligible for a bowl this upcoming season in 2025. Really? Anyway, started 1-6 with a win over an FCS school, and they actually won 3 of their last 5 games to go 4-8. Biggest win, no surprise, was against Toledo, the only team they beat that had above 500. Let me tell you, if Akron didn't have such a tough schedule at the start of the year besides Colgate, they would have probably made a bowl game. Ben Finley, I guess, was an ass. Like 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 picks. Then he had 8 rushing touchdowns for Taj Bullock, who was a backup QB. Jordan Simmons led the rushing with 664 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the main guy at receiving core was Adrian Norton with 831 yards and 7 touchdowns. Up next, we got Ball State Cardinals, I believe. Ass. You're telling me this team made it to the top 15 in 2008 up until the MAC championship game when they had to play Buffalo and they just laid an egg? Dude, that felt like ages ago. Also, Akron's last conference championship was 2005. What? Anyways, 3-9 season for Ball State. Biggest win, no surprise here, it was against Northern Illinois, and they only beat Kent State, who went winless this season, by 2 points. Of course, the MAC is filled with close games. Ball State lost 4 of them, but they also got smacked around by James Madison in Miami. I'm talking about Miami, Florida, not Miami of Ohio. And then the final 2 games, when it was all said and done, they just decided to just lie down and die to Bowling Green and Ohio. They lost by 25 to Bowling Green at home, too. I guess Caden Simonza wasn't too bad. 2,900 yards, 25 touchdowns and 10 picks. Then you got Braden Sloan, who had just under 600 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns. And the leader receiving core was Tanner Koziel with 94 catches, 839 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Next up, we got the Bowling Green Falcons. Decent. Let me just say, they were actually better than their record showed. They could have easily won like 9 or 10 games. It was literally all but 2 of their losses that were actually close games. And this includes 2 Power 4 teams that were in the top 25 that was on the road. The only reason why Bowling Green didn't make the MAC championship was because they lost to Miami of Ohio at home and also to Northern Illinois at home. I could actually easily put him at above average. You know what? My cursor wanted to put this at above average the first time I tried to record that. So you know what? Why not? This is actually probably the first time I have put a 7-win team in above average, but that was kind of how their season went. Sadly for Bowling Green, they lost a close game in the 68 Ventures Bowl, which is actually a really nice game. They started 2-4. They should have been like what? 5-1 perhaps? And then they won 5 straight games to secure a bowl game. Pretty nice stuff, if you know what I mean. Connor Bazelak had 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns to 5 picks. He wasn't terrible. Tyrion Stewart had 900 rushing yards on 166 carries with 6 touchdowns, which is nuts. Come on, the main guy of this squad who also got drafted was Harold Fannin, who had 117 catches, 1,500 yards, and 10 touchdowns as a tight end. Oh yeah, and he was drafted in the 3rd round by the Browns. Like, early 3rd round. If Dathan Njoku doesn't work out in Cleveland, maybe Harold Fannin might be the tight end 1 that could really change the game better than Njoku has done. Next we got the Buffalo Bulls. You know something? I was actually expecting them to be as, but honestly, they were actually pretty above average in terms of max standards. They actually won 9 games this year, including the Bahamas Bowl at Liberty. Well, playing against Liberty, they won by 19 points. Sucks that Buffalo also lost 2 conference games. That was to Western Michigan at home by 7 and lost to Ohio by 31 points. But still, 1 win away from a 10-win season is really not that bad, especially when you schedule Missouri in your season. I'll never forget the Jared Patterson days at Buffalo. Those were some great ones for Buffalo Bulls. And also Khalil Mack. Don't think I forgot about him either. But as far as this season goes, CJ Obana had 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 5 picks. I know I said his name wrong. Also had 8 touchdowns on the ground. Speaking of the rushing game, Al-Jay Henderson, just over 1,000 rushing yards with 9 touchdowns. Then you got Victor Snow with 55 catches, 650 yards, and 6 touchdowns through the receiving end. Up next we got the Central Michigan Chippewas. Probably in my top 10 in terms of team names, but overall they were really just disappointing. 4-8. Actually beat Western Michigan at home, but only 2 conference wins. They did schedule Illinois when they lost by 21 points. Close games against Northern Illinois and Ohio. Man, that really sucked. They could have had a bowl game. And Eastern Michigan. Almost forgot about them too. One notable player that really came from this Central Michigan squad, and I gotta believe it was Adonio Brown. He may be a 6th rounder, but probably one of the greatest receivers in his prime. Rough season at quarterback. He had Joe Labus with 7 touchdowns, 7 picks, 1,100 yards. Ouch. That's because they ran the ball so damn much. Marion Lukes, just under 800 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. And on the receiving end, yeah, nobody went over 400 yards. What's shocking to me is that Central Michigan actually had a player drafted. I think it was in the 7th round. Dante Kent, who was a corner, he got to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, we got the Eastern Michigan Eagles. If we were talking about the first half of the season, I would have said probably above average, but nah. They collapsed. Imagine starting 5-2, losing bad games to Washington and Miami of Ohio, as in losing badly to those 2 teams. And then you lose your last 5 games, in which 3 of them were 1-score games. That's a really bad look, considering that this team beat the Conference USA champions in double overtime, Jacksonville State. Nothing else to say except Eastern Michigan choked their season. Cole Snyder was okay, 2,700 yards, 15 touchdowns to 9 picks. Then you had Delbert Mims, who ran for 800 yards and 9 touchdowns, and on the receiving end, 3 players with 600 plus yards. Next up, we got the Kent State Golden Flashes. Ass. You guys are legitimately the only team that went 0-12 this season. Congratulations. This team literally couldn't even beat an FCS school by the name of St. Francis, PA. Yeah, basically they just got blown out every single game they played almost, except for like 2 games or something like that. This team is easily one of the worst of all time. Quarterback wise, I mean, it was okay. 15 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, 8 picks. Sucks that Tommy Olatowski actually went below 50% completions. Kai Thomas had 550 yards and a score, and then also Christian McCray, who was actually on ESPN College Football 25's little Road to Glory menu as the underdog. He actually had 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. And also Luke Floria with just under 700 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Up next, we got the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, above average. Actually won 9 games this year, including a dominant bowl win over Colorado State. Unfortunately, they did get blown out in the MAC championship game, which really sucked for them. You know something? They actually started 1-4 with losses to Northwestern in a close game, Toledo, Notre Dame, and Cincinnati. And somehow let UMass take them to overtime. But then out of nowhere, they just won 7 straight games like it was nothing. What a huge turnaround for those Redhawks. Jeez. Brett Gabbert was nowhere close to Big Ben's numbers. Yeah, Big Ben 2003 led Miami of Ohio to a final AP ranking in the top 10. Anyways, Brett Gabbert had 2,900 yards, 21 touchdowns to 11 picks. Then you got Keon Mosey, who had just under 1,100 rushing yards with 4 touchdowns. On the receiving end, 2 players with 800 plus yards, Reggie Virgil and Javon Tracy with a total of 16 touchdowns. Next up, you got the North Illinois Huskies. That victory at South Bend was sweet. I mean, above average will definitely have to be where I have to put them. 8-5 season. Actually won the Idaho Potato Bowl against Fresno State, but yeah, the fact that they lost, oh boy, 4 of their 5 losses were 1-score games. These guys could have easily made the MAC championship if things went their way, but why would I say that they are an elite if they were? Like I said before, huge win over Notre Dame, the only loss that Notre Dame had in the regular season, but then lost 2 straight, then won 2 straight, then lost 2 straight, then won 3 of their last 4 games in the regular season, and then, of course, won the bowl game. Very uncharacteristic season for Northern Illinois, really. I will never forget the Jordan Lynch days of Northern Illinois. Those teams were sick. Ethan Hampton, he was not terrible. 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns to 6 picks. 750 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground for Galvin Williams. And shockingly, nobody went over 400 yards on the receiving corps. Next up, we got the Ohio Bobcats. Easily above average. Easily. 11-3, won the MAC championship in dominant fashion, then beat Jacksonville State in the Cure Bowl. You know something? They actually started 4-3 in their first 7 games, and then they just rattled off 6 straight wins. Actually, no, 7 straight wins to end the year. Losses were to ACC's Syracuse, SEC's Kentucky, and Miami of Ohio by 10. And then they just suddenly come out of nowhere to just rule the MAC like it was nothing. Obviously, it's not going to be as smooth sailing for Ohio as people think, but maybe they could still be above average. Who knows? Obviously, the passing wasn't too great. 2,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 picks. But that's because the rushing game took over the entire thing. Because Cargo Navarro had 13 passing touchdowns, but 18 rushing touchdowns, along with over 1,000 rushing yards. Along with Anthony Tice III with 1,200 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. Then there was a guy by the name of Coleman Owen who had 1,200 yards and 78 catches and 8 touchdowns. My question is, how the hell did no one get drafted from this team? I mean, we got the Toledo Rockets. They were such a big team last year in the MAC, and then they kind of declined a little bit. But I'll still say they were above average. 8-5 season is actually not that bad. They actually beat Pittsburgh in the Game Above Sports Bowl, which is really nice. Actually started the season 4-1, but then won only 3 of their last 7 games, which sucks. They might have been MAC conference favorites to win the whole thing, but then they had losses to Buffalo, Bowling Green, Ohio, and Akron. This team really lost to the Akron Zips. Crazy. In overtime, by the way. Tucker Gleason was pretty good. I remember a Toledo quarterback that was there that used to great. I think his name was Bruce Gatkowski? Man. He was great in college, but terrible in the NFL, of course, because he was a backup. But anyways, Tucker Gleason, 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks. Rushing game didn't do too much, but receiving core, 2 players with around 1,000 yards. Jawan Newton, over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. Junior Vanderos had 85 catches, 957 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But the only player drafted was on the defense. Defensive lineman Darius Alexander was picked with the first pick of the 3rd round by the New York Giants. I'm telling you, that New York Giants defense is going to be filthy good, especially with a dual Carter and Darius Alexander on there. Interesting season. Hopefully he does well over in the Big Apple. And finally, we have the Western Michigan Broncos. About time I could put a team somewhere in the decent tier. Thank you, WMU. You guys remember 2016 when they had Corey Davis, a top 5 pick in that 2017 draft when they went 13-0, went to the Cotton Bowl to face Wisconsin, and unfortunately lost a pretty good game. That was the last time Western Michigan was in national relevance. Crazy. As far as the season goes, they went 6-7, lost their Veterans Bowl to South Alabama. They actually started the season 1-3, then won 4 straight, then lost 3 straight to end the season, then played Eastern Michigan at home and won. This season was just so weird. They had road games against Wisconsin and Ohio State. Only lost to Wisconsin by 14 too. 2 close games that could have went down easily as far as the losses, but yeah, it was an okay season for WMU. Hayden Wolf, not terrible, 2,400 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. There was also Jay Nixon, who had under 1,000 rushing yards with 12 touchdowns. Jalen Buckley also with 9 rushing touchdowns. And none of the receiving corps came close to what Corey Davis did in his season. Best one was Kenneth Womack with 500 yards and a touchdown. Then Western Michigan has a player drafted in the name of Bilal Cohn, corner, who went to the Ravens. That's all for the 2024 season reviews. Let's get to the 2025 predictions. You see the tiers. Obviously, you see an additional tier. That's because the first team on this list is going to that tier, and that is Akron. Because as you know, Akron is ineligible for a bowl game or postseason play, as we like to call it, because their academic progress rate went down. Nuts. As far as their record, I'm expecting like 4-8 or 5-7, right around the same mark as they were last year. Joe Moorhead is the head coach. They are hoping the new players at the skill positions will rise up and help this team to at least 500, but I just don't see it. Also, UMass is joining the MAC Bank. Get them at bottom feeders, because they do not need to be in the FBS. Next up, we got Ball State. I think Ball State made this easy on me. I'm set to 2-10 and 3-9, literally because they're starting over. They might even go winless this year. Their best transfer portal players that are coming in is Walter Taylor, quarterback from Colorado, which could be interesting. But as far as starting over, I'm not expecting Ball State to do anything. Up next, we got Bowling Green, who is now in a rebuild mode because Scott Leffler is going to be the QB coach. He actually left Bowling Green. I think he went to be the QB coach of the Eagles, which is crazy. As far as how I think their season will go, they were 7-6 last year. They could be bowl game ceiling bound, maybe like 4-win, 5-win season. They're obviously in complete rebuild mode as well, so they're definitely going to be declining in 2025. Let's just have to see how much they've declined. Next, we got the Buffalo Bulls. I'm expecting them to be above average. They have a lot of great veterans coming in. I'm expecting like maybe a 9-win season again, maybe 10. Minimal portal losses. Defense is loaded with veterans. They even got Daquan Roberson from Kansas State, who has big Power 4 experience. Pete Lembo is doing a pretty good job over there in Buffalo. And according to College Football News, that is the website I'm using for all these standings predictions. It's MAC title or bust. Up next, we got Central Michigan. They got a new head coach in Matt Drinkle. He is getting a great team, especially on defense. I'll say mid-table, maybe like 8 wins. Top transfer apparently was Trey Cornish, running back from Tulane, which is pretty nuts. Drinkle was a former Army assistant. He was the guy that helped Army go to a 13-1 season. Not gonna lie, he could be pretty nice at Central Michigan, but only way to find out, right, is to watch the game. Up next, we got Eastern Michigan. Transfer portal kind of stung for Eastern Michigan. Chris Creighton is known to be a good head coach, so I feel like bowl game ceiling is really best here. I'm expecting like 5-7 or 6-6, right around the state mark. Noah Kim is coming in from Coastal Carolina as a quarterback, so that should be interesting to look at. And also Carson Lee, one of the offensive linemen in the trenches, is going to Mississippi State, which sucks for them. But honestly, man, Eastern Michigan's really been a consistently average team in the MAC, which is quite interesting to notice. Next we got Kansas State. I'ma just make this quick. Bottom feeders. Kenny Burns needs some luck to be able to get through this season alive and still have a job. Program didn't really get hammered by the portal except for Krishan McCray going to Michigan State. But Jordan Newman coming from Minnesota should help them a little bit, but I don't see Kansas State making any noise. And we got Miami of Ohio. They lost a ton of offensive talent from their MAC runner-up season, but they did get a huge pickup in Daquan Finn from Baylor, which could really kickstart the offense. As far as what I think, I feel like they can actually be above average, at least a 10-win season perhaps. Transfer portal was definitely humongous for the Red Hawks, and I should see them really making a big push for the MAC title perhaps. Up next we got Northern Illinois. Oh yeah, by the way, this is Northern Illinois' last year in the MAC because they're going to the Mountain West starting in 2026. There's basically no depth for Northern Illinois. I would say bowl game ceiling. They're going to definitely decline. Transfer portal was brutal. It could be brutal to anybody. An example of that is Northern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. They did get Jackson Proctor, who was a QB from Dartmouth, but they did lose Amarian Knighton to Indiana, who was a quarterback. This could not be any more worse for Northern Illinois in their last hurrah in the backship. Up next, we got the Ohio Bobcats. Brian Smith is taking over as the head man after their old one left, the one that led him to the MAC championship game. It's not going to be quite as strong as before, but I still think Ohio can definitely be above average, at least like 8 wins. They did get Sam Bangura, running back from Minnesota. I hope I said that right. I will say this team isn't quite as talented as the one that won the MAC, but they should still be one of the contenders for that MAC championship. You know, giving it some thought, I'm decided to move Buffalo to conference contenders. Obviously, there's got to be 2 teams in there that I'm projecting to be in the MAC championship. I will say Buffalo's a little better than Ohio at the moment, but you got to play the game to be able to get to the MAC championship, right? Next up, we got Toledo. I think there is not a question and doubt in my mind. I'm expecting Toledo to make the MAC championship, potentially win it. They had the most portal talent in the MAC. Offense is loaded, defense, little okay, little decent. But Jason Campbell should be having a great squad, especially with Trevon Rudolph going to Toledo from Northern Illinois. I'm expecting a 10-win season out of Toledo. And finally, we have Western Michigan with head coach Lance Taylor going into his 3rd season. Transfer portal definitely helped out with the offense starting over talent-wise. I'm expecting maybe Western Michigan to be mid-table as well. Maybe like 7 wins. They were able to get Cole Gabetta, a running back from Michigan, to replace Jaden Nixon, who went to UCF. This is going to be a very interesting year for the MAC, and I'm really hoping we could see one of these MAC teams make a huge push, potentially for a playoff spot. I would love to see a MAC team in the college football playoff, but hey, gotta play the games to be able to achieve that, right? Anyways, that is going to do it for the 2025 season predictions for the MAC. Good luck, MAC. You're going to need it. And good luck to every other conference that I have covered. That's going to end the series for this season of 2024 to 2025. That's going to do it for this episode of Grizzly Talks Football. If you enjoyed, make sure you give it a big fat thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of my videos. This is Chris signing off for now. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace!